Hey guys, I just wanted to make you a quick video talking about lymphoid organs, and I'm on Class Kick slide 36 right now, and I will leave this here so you can review these notes. Now, while we're doing this video, please get a piece of paper. You know, my choice would be a colored piece of paper. You can make a foldy, take notes, whatever you want to do, but I need you to write things down that are important as I'm going through this video. Now, on the last video that we did over the lymphatic system, we were talking about, I don't know why I'm still in black, let's do pink, there we go. Okay, so we were talking about the lymphatic system, and we were talking about lymphatic vessels, and you guys had really great lymphatic vessel models. I loved them. Super loved them. So, good job. There you go. So, we were talking about lymphatic vessels and how lymphatic vessels remove fluid that accumulates around the cells. So maybe there's a capillary running through here, and sometimes fluid leaks out into what we call the interstitial space, and it leaks out there, and then the lymphatic vessels, I'll make them green, the lymphatic vessels kind of soak up that fluid and return it to the subclavian vein and then back into the blood supply so that the blood remains fluid. Let me erase this stuff because we don't need it. So what we're going to talk about today is the organs of the lymphatic system. So the most commonly known organ of the lymphatic system are lymph nodes. So if you look at this picture right here, you can see that you have lymphatic vessels running, and then you also have these, ooh, that's not good. You also have these accumulations of tissue that are on the lymphatic vessels. So you have them pretty much all over your body. The most common place to find clusters of lymph nodes are in the inguinal region, underneath your underarm, the axillary region, and the last one is in your neck, the cervical region. So that's where you find like huge clusters of them. So if you look, huge clusters. If your doctor is feeling your neck when you're sick, he's looking at these cervical nodes and he's looking for infection. So if we go up here, lymph nodes are the only lymphatic organ that filters lymphatic fluid. The other lymphatic organs help with immunity, but they don't filter lymph. So lymphatic fluid goes through the lymph nodes, and lymph nodes are big, huge clusters of cells that fight infection, like macrophages and lymphocytes and white blood cells. And a lymph node actually looks like this picture right here. Lymph nodes, this is really big, but on average a lymph node is about 1 centimeter big, and it is shaped like a kidney bean. And as you can see right here, and then it goes in, there's the indentation right here. That indentation is called a hilum. And what happens in a lymph node is the lymphatic fluid that has like all the stuff that was collected from the interstitial space between the cells. It has like water in it, and then it can also have bad stuff in it, like bacteria or something like that. So what happens is this fluid flows into the lymph node, and lymph nodes are really cool because they have these folds. See all these little like folds? They're like tan colored. All these little folds here, all of these little white blood cells or lymphatic cells sit on these folds. And what happens is this lymphatic fluid flows into the lymph node through all of these afferent vessels. Remember, afferent starts with an A, and that's arriving. So the fluid is arriving through the afferent vessels. And if you look over here, these are called efferent vessels, and they are exiting. So that's kind of a connection to control systems. So anyway, the fluid is flowing into the lymph node, and all these lymphatic cells and all these white blood cells are sitting on all these folds. And the fluid flows around in this lymph node. And all these cells right here are sitting there watching, and they're looking for things that could harm the body. They're looking for bacteria. They're looking for viruses. They're looking for anything that could be harmful to the body. And if they find something that's harmful to the body, they quarantine it in this lymph node. That's why sometimes if you have an infection, your doctor will feel your neck to see if your lymph nodes are swollen. Don't say you have swollen glands, because swollen glands, you know the glands from chapter 9, that's not these. So from now on, say you have swollen lymph nodes. But anyway, they'll quarantine that bacteria or anything foreign to the body that they don't recognize. They'll quarantine it in this lymph node, and then they'll literally destroy it. So this fluid filters around this lymph node, and it takes like a really long time for it to filter around this lymph node, and then it exits out, hopefully completely clean, out the efferent vessels. So that's how a lymph node works. And if we go down a little bit further, I'm just making sure I didn't forget anything. Oh, one thing I want to tell you. Look at how many afferent vessels there are. Let me change colors. Look at how many arriving afferent vessels there are. There's 1, 2, 3, 4 afferent vessels. And then there's only 2 efferent vessels. That means the fluid comes in pretty quick, but it leaves slowly because there's a lot filtering in, but there's hardly any filtering out. So the fluid has to stay in here for a while, and that gives it the chance to go through all these cells that could identify something foreign. So it stays in here, and it's just based on like the ratio of how many afferent vessels there are to efferent vessels. So once the fluid is all cleaned, it leaves and it comes back and it gets put back in the blood through the subclavian vein. So there are also some other lymphatic organs I want to talk about today. There are 4 more that we need to add, and that's the spleen, the thymus, the tonsils. What? Why are you yelling? Sorry, my cat's yelling. He wants me to pet him instead of making this video. Sorry, buddy, I gotta make this video. Okay, so the spleen, the thymus, the tonsils, and you also have Peyer's patches. So Peyer's patches are really cool. You probably haven't heard of these before, but I'll tell you all about them right now. So if we look over here at this model that we have, tonsils are located, remember we talked about them, they were located by your pharynx. So you have tonsils located in there. Your thymus, it says here it's located in the thorax. Sometimes the thymus will be confused with being in your neck. It's not really in your neck. It's in the thoracic cavity. So here's your thoracic cavity. The thymus is located right there. The spleen is located over here by your stomach. And then Peyer's patches are located inside your intestines. And then you also have your appendix, located right here, kind of off the colon. So we look at, if we want to look at these a little bit closer, I posted some information down here. We have the spleen. Now the spleen is a filter for your blood. So as your blood is filtering through the spleen, it has some lymphatic tissue in it that takes cells that are worn out or bad. It also acts as a blood reservoir. If you are bleeding, your spleen and your liver will both like empty out all their extra blood. So to keep like your blood balance in check. The thymus is a gland that's located, I don't like that it says located in your lower throat, because when you guys think of your throat, you're actually thinking of your neck region. Remember, it's more in the thoracic cavity. The thymus is responsible for programming lymphatic cells. So in other words, it differentiates cells into their specific job. So white blood cells are actually made in bone marrow. So they undergo mitosis in bone marrow, and then they travel to the thymus to be given a job. So the thymus actually differentiates them into their specific job. Tonsils, you guys should be very familiar with tonsils. We talked about them quite a bit. Tonsils, remember, are located in by your pharynx, and they are responsible for removing bacteria that is in the respiratory tract. And lastly, Peyer's patches. Peyer's patches are found in your small intestine, and they're kind of like tonsils, but they have lymphatic tissue that destroy bacteria in your intestine. Now, one more thing I want to mention before I sign off is that your tonsils and Peyer's patches are both mucosa-associated lymphatic tissue. And those are referred to as MALT, as the acronym. And if you remember, mucous membranes, they line body cavities that open to the exterior of the body. And mucosa refers to mucous membranes. And Peyer's patches and tonsils are both part of these lymphatic tissues. What they do is they act as places to protect the respiratory system and the digestive system. Okay, guys, I hope that helps. There's some questions that I need you to answer on Canvas, and I hope you have a good day.